And there are so many facts about Indian tradition or evolution of Indian civilization and its gifts to the world that many of us are not familiar. And I wonder why that happened. But talking about the precious aspect of it, going towards the diamond and some precious stones. So Indians were familiar with them, and as per your study, were they also used to make ornaments, or diamond had some other role previously, as far as uh, ancient India is concerned?
Good question. So we'll be glad to answer that. We should show you that slide too. Till 1975, and for the
1725.
1725, that's about 300 years ago, when diamond was first discovered in Brazil and later in South Africa, diamond was unknown to the world except in Bharat. India was only place that had diamonds. Now the key question comes: why is diamond called diamond in the English language?
Mhm.
Why is not called some other name? There's an interesting story to it. The word, of course, we have it in Golconda, we have it in Panna. Of course,
So actually, even in India, see, there are like two to three mines. You also have Hirakud, and but the most famous is this Golconda mine in very close to Hyderabad, and this is by the Krishna River. So what used to happen first, like he said, till 1700s, the world did not know about diamond. For them, it was pearl, which was the most valuable,
precious.
precious gem. Diamond did not figure in their list at all. It was some 16th or so in the pecking order. They knew of it, but not it was not so precious for them.
What is the proof? She said pearl was the most precious product of medieval and pre-medieval Europe. I'll ask you, how do we come to the statement to say that pearl was the most precious of the products of Europe? If you look at it,
It's not
stop
easy.
share.
Stop sharing.
So if you look at the Bible, what is the place to be in, the best place? Obviously, the heaven. To go to heaven is the goal of every man and woman, isn't it? How are you welcomed in heaven? You're welcomed by the pearly gates of heaven.
Hmm.
Because the gate of heaven itself is made by a pearl, by a single large pearl. So for them, the pearl was the most precious commodity.
So the most precious, the best place was adorned by the best gem, which was pearls for them. So that is why you get the phrase "pearly gates of heaven."
Hmm.
They don't call it diamond gates of heaven. So that means pearl was the number one in the pecking order till about a few hundred years ago. Till there was a person in 16. See, look at this. The importance of pearl was number one till 1650, and a diamond was a very lowly ranked 18th in the preciousness scale of gemstones. Whereas today it's the other way around because of this one person, a French traveler by name.
Jean-Baptiste Tavernier, he visited India and more than six times he went around visiting these mines. So when he comes to India, he's a traveler. He comes here, he sees
Jeweler.
diamonds. He's a jeweler himself. So he finds, oh, this is such a precious thing. He takes it back because you ask, what was it being used for? Here, diamonds and huge diamonds from Golconda. Today, the world, there is a separate word for the best diamonds. Diamonds are there, but the best quality diamonds are not called diamonds. They're just called Golcondas.
Hmm.
So the richest and the most precious gems, diamonds, they'll say I have a Golconda. They won't say I have a diamond of this quality or that quality. The highest quality is called a Golconda even today. And we had so many, all those Kohinoors and so many different diamonds. Actually, we'll just show you a map of the diamonds of India. All these different diamonds, world famous diamonds today, the Orlov, the Eugenie, Dresden Green, Florentine. Some are even called Ahmedabad because it was found there. Nasik, Nasak. So many of these diamonds, which have gone world over, they were really huge, and they were actually being used as adornments on deities. They used to form the eyes of the divinities, the vigraha, the murtis. They were embedded with diamonds. The Srirangam temple, the vigraha had diamonds for its eyes. So like that, even the Kohinoor was the eye of one of the devis before it was taken. I mean, it goes through a various route because of all the plunder and so on. So this French traveler, what he does is he sees a lot of diamonds and he takes it to the court of King Louis XIV in 1669 in France, and he introduces it as a fashion. So King Louis takes to it, and then slowly it becomes a fashion statement, and then people all over Europe slowly start using diamond. So all the courtiers, Versailles, it becomes a fashion there. And Marco Polo actually in 1300s, he is writing the big stones go to the Indian kings, who in turn don't keep it for themselves alone. They give it to the various temples that they build. And the refuse is going to Europe. So the much, much smaller ones. So from here comes the interesting story. So this Golconda, which is by the Krishna River, the Greeks started calling it Adamas, because this was the river from which they were getting the diamonds. And the word Adam actually is hardness. Even in Hindi, in Tamil, in southern languages, Telugu, Tamil, and all, you say Adam means very firm, stubborn.
Adke rahna.
In Hindi, you say adke rahna. So ad. So that Adam, the river is called Adamas.
In English, you call it adamant.
Adamant.
Yes.
Look at the words, they denote the same thing. Adamant is stubborn. And from Adamas, it becomes diamant, and then you get diamond from there.
So how the property, the guna, the characteristic of the stone of to be the hardest, unbreakable. So adamant, as she said, diamant to diamond. We have incidentally a short film on this, and it's also in one of the chapters of our book Brand Bharat. Full chapters available on this. Plus, we take this as one of the sessions in our course that we do for on Bharata civilization for Hindu University America. Certainly, it's part of our course.
Yeah.
So we
I
bring
feel-
out these kind of small facts during the course, and also the ethos with which we were handling. See, look at it. So along with the fact that you had such big diamonds, what comes out is the people of this civilization, they actually used it for the divine. It was not the personal wealth alone. The kings got these, but then it was in
Also,
all
for
these cases, you will find all those big diamonds that have gone out were all part of a temple or a divinity, and it was adorning the divine.
because when one person wears it, only that one person wears it. But if you give it to the divine to wear, then everybody in that town, that nagara, that grama, that desa, they can all come and watch it and enjoy its beauty.
Beautiful.
So it's been made common for all to use, view
And it stays there for generations.
beyond time.
So
And
nice.
diamonds are for forever.
Diamonds are forever,
Diamonds are
absolutely.
forever.
And I think when you listen to Dr. D.K. Hariji, Dr. D.K. Hema Hariji, you realize there is so much that we do not know, though we consider that we are educated and basically everybody has Google and there is so much explosion of information. But many important aspects which when you hear from them appears as if we should have known them already, but we don't know. So one, in addition to the wealth of knowledge that you are sharing, I also want to compliment both of you for having the kind of harmonious synergy in your expression. So it is like a duet of beautiful Indian glorious knowledge.
Jugalbandi.
जुगलबंदी
Jugalbandi.
जुगलबंदी बहुत ही सुंदर है, मधुर है आपकी. तो समय की सीमा को देखते हुए आई वुड लाइक at least 2 points more to be covered with you. One relates to rocket artillery, and that tells us about how Indians were prepared for protecting themselves, and that innovative approach was there. Tell us something about that.
See, when you go to London, there is obviously an artillery museum in a place. It's called the Rotunda Museum.
Woolwich.
It's it's in Woolwich near
You want to pull
London.
it?
Yes.
Just one
So,
moment. We'll pull it up. 1 second.
so when you go there, what you see is you see about obviously about rockets. And if you go to look at the in USA from where you are speaking now, uh, Dr. Robert Hutchins Goddard is looked at as the father of rocket propulsion for USA. That's about 100 years ago. That's why the Space Center in NASA is also called Goddard Space Center. Now you know the reason why it's called Goddard Space Center. What happened was these people actually they got it because there was a Bernard Level also who has written about this, and he very clearly writes that see, this is the museum there where you have this in London. You have this museum where you see the rockets there being fired. This is in the Rotunda Museum, Woolwich, London. You see, but the point is these rockets then were called the Congreve rockets in England. This is because father, son, grandson Congraves, they had all come to India, and they are also part of the Anglo-Mysore War, as they called it those days, in 1792, when they were trying to attack the Mysore, which was then controlled by Tipu Sultan. So when they in that battle, Tipu Sultan was using certain rockets. So that was the of course it's not only him, there were others too prior to him, but we're focusing because the British have recorded it. So we're going backward from Woolwich to the scientist Bernard Lovell, who has written about it, to the Congreve rockets, which in turn goes back to they have recorded this from the Anglo-Mysore War. And they show that there was actually a rocket dibba there. Look at this. There's a rocket dibba, a platform from which the rockets were fired. It's called a rocket dibba, a rocket mount from which these rockets were fired. That's what this is in Mysore. And he had about 500 men. 5,000. I'm sorry, 5,000 men who are all technologically savvy in rocket technology, which the British did not have them. And they're a range of about close to 2 kilometers was the range those days to fire these rockets, and it was about 5 kilos.
So they reverse engineer. So in that particular war, Tipu gets defeated. So the British get access into his fort and all his artillery, weaponry, and everything. And they come across these rockets and then they reverse engineer. They build the rockets. And the most interesting thing is these get used in the war in America. And in one of the ships, which was which was anchored by Baltimore during the Maryland War, that is when the anthem, the Star Spangled Banner, the anthem of America, was penned by a person by the poet who was in the ship. He was captured and he was held in the ship, in the British ship. He was captured, and he, through the night, when he's seeing the rockets going and hitting the American coast, the fort, so every time there is a flash of light, he's able to see the American flag, and that he feels comforted that okay, it is still America is holding on, and that makes him prompts him to write the poem.
Star Spangled Banner. That's how it comes about. In the light of the rockets that were originally the concept was taken from India and reverse engineered by the Congraves
and used
family.
all over the world after that. So this is yet another thing. So from here you can see how this one small input from what was happening in the Bharata soil, from that how the British managed to extract the knowledge and then use it, adapt it, and from there on how things have grown in the world.
This has actually been recorded by the former president of India, Bharat Ratna, Dr. APJ Kalam, who himself was a rocket scientist, along with his colleague, Dr. Shivatanu Pillai. They have actually recorded it in their documentation books. That this how the journey of the rocket technology came to the West, and from there on, Goddard took it forward to the next level. That's how it happened. So this is how the rocket technology travels the world over. That's the story
Amazing.
of what we see here.
Amazing. So there are so many stories. Of course, we have
Absolutely.
a tradition of making use of stories to impart profound knowledge in our scriptures. And sitting with you and learning about Bharat and Indian civilization is not just enriching; it is very exciting. But with excitement, when we look at the need to respect the time, and then again, time somewhere is seen as a linear concept, but I think in India we have seen it in a circular manner. Talk to us about, and of course, there are many calendars which are rooted in India. Now, some people are aware about them, some may not be aware about them, but in general, Indian civilization and time, what will you share from Bharat Gyan
Surely,
on that?
we call it the idea of Kala Ganana. That is a count of time. And as you said, in a Bharata civilization thought, we don't look at it as linear, whereas we look at it as cyclical. That's why we call it Kala Chakra. And the basis of this Kala Chakra that we have is a term called Ahoratra. Aha obviously means day, Ratra, Ratri, night. So it's a continuous cycle, an unending cycle of day and night is called Ahoratra. And it is from this word, if you can see, we underline the central word, Hora, from which comes the word, what you call the Greek science of time is called horology. Look at the word, the horology that you use for Greek comes from the word hora, the Indian term, which is the conjoined word of aha and ratra. Ahoratra comes hora. So hora shastra itself is the Indian concept of time. It's called hora shastra. The English word hour for each the 24 hours in a day again comes from the same root word hora, hour. And in India, you have the idea of seeing the horoscope of people in Bharat. The term horoscope also comes from the same hora. So look at that. So the root idea of horology, the science of time, the horometers and all that, horological aspects of books, all those things, all that comes. It actually, horological institute is quite popular in different parts of Europe, especially Switzerland. So for all that, the root term, the concept, the thought, the science, the jnana, knowledge, the vigyan, the deep science, has all got roots in the Bharata civilization that goes back many, many, many millennia.
The interesting thing is, see, today we know of time, we measure it. Okay, actually, in modern times, it has just come down to looking at your watch or just some digital numbers on your cell phone or on the calendar. And even there, it is limited to just hours, minutes, seconds. You go to days, weeks, maximum a year, and after that we just say it's multiples of 10 years and so on. But in the Indian concept of time, you really had units to measure very large cycles of time. They were not just multiples, but if you look at it, they all fundamentally stemmed from a word called yuga.
Because we have the
So if you look at it, you have the word Yuga, Chatur Yuga, which has Kali Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Krita Yuga. Then from there on, you go into larger cycles, which are Manvantara, Kalpa, going up to Brahma's scale of time, and the Parardha, which is the scale of time of the entire creation universe itself,
Srishti.
Srishti. But the fundamental is a Yuga, and you use this term yuga for terms like 4,32,000 years. You also use it for just 1 year, which is why people of Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, and all, their new year is called Yugadi, Yuga Adi. So start of a yuga every year. So
Hmm.
yuga actually denotes a conjunction, an alignment. And that is what happens in cycles. In cyclical time, you have conjunctions. Every year is an alignment of Earth, Sun, Moon, and Aries, Mesha Rasi. So that is an alignment. So, like that, when you start, we have been counting larger and larger cycles. So, if you have just two, three of them, your alignment time is smaller. When you have many more to align, then the alignment period becomes much longer. So, we have used so many factors for alignment, and we have come with larger and larger cycles, and that's how we have known time. We have kept track of time, and we have used even the smallest unit of a day. You just look at the sky and you'll be able to say that this is this month, this day, and so on, based on the stars which we have used as markers.
Here we're showing the idea she said about Aries, Mesham, from which, so the alignment of all the planets in the solar system that occurred, from which you get the concept of Kali Yuga. That's what she's showing here.
So you have various scales, astronomical scale of time to a human scale of time to just a rotation, spin, all of these, the revolution, each one is a scale of time. So, our idea of understanding of time was just
It's
tremendous.
is really out of the world. Our
Yes.
idea of understanding the concept of time is really out of the world. And this again is part of our course that we do. We have a full course that we do on calendar and cosmology. It's a 10 session course, it's part of our eight course cycle that we do over a 2 year period.
And this time, understanding of time is very fundamental to the Bharata thought, because time is all about dharma. So we come back the cycle, we bring back the chakra to dharma again, because
Beautiful.
this idea of time, it actually speaks to you of the dharma. The dharma is that is there in the universe, which is cyclical, which is so periodic, which is so orderly, which is so rhythmic, which is therefore the rita. And you understand these cycles of time, you know how to conduct yourself on a day to day basis in alignment with this kind of cyclical motions of the
The
universe.
situation you're in, to conduct yourself in the sequence, situation, the place you're in, that's your dharma. And in Rita, so as you said, Ritu, as you use the word, Rita, Ritu, so you know what dress to wear, which season. That's also part of your dharma. So you can't wear some clothes which are unsuitable for that particular season. So it's like, otherwise, it's like putting an some other animal in some other part of the world. Okay, it's like putting a penguin in the Sahara Desert or putting a camel in Antarctica. It doesn't suit. So you have to live along according to that. That's part of dharma.
And therefore, this understanding gives you an understanding of the traditions of the people of the civilization. Why were they doing such and such a act, and why were they celebrating certain festivals, and why were they celebrating at that particular time window? What does it denote? What is the significance? So from the understanding of time, we take people into the understanding of tradition, to understanding of festivals, understanding of timekeeping, calendars, from where you move on to how it is applicable for present times, where you're talking about space travel, you're sending people to moon. You now have an experiment going on in the US where you put people into a Mars kind of environment, artificially created environment, to see how they're going to react. So people going to Mars in the next 1 or 2 generations is going to become common. And then how do you keep track of time? How do you communicate and tell? Because Mars is going to rotate differently. So how do you tell this is the time, and how do you coordinate the calendar and say, okay, let's have a Zoom call at such and such a time?
Because the Gregorian calendar that you use now in America would not be of use of validity in Mars. When you go set up a station there, a Earth station in Mars, it's not going to have any validity, the Gregorian calendar. Whereas you need a calendar, you need a timekeeping method that suits the for staying for Martian life. Where does that calendar come from? The Bharata calendar suits all that, suits all the bodies in the solar system, wherever you may go stay or beyond the solar system. So we have a
The concept of how to keep time,
so we have a
that
space ready
is
calendar.
common, that can be replicated and carried forward.
We have a calendar for the world where it's actually space ready. So when you go out in space, these timelines that you need are very different in the what you have on Earth. You need what you need for solar system, what you need for the galactic travel that you do, the Endeavor and all those things, and SSS Enterprise, USS Enterprise. You need different scales, or the Gregorian calendar is of not going to be of much use there. So you need to have a space ready calendar when you go into space. That calendar, you don't have to invent a calendar. You don't have to reinvent a calendar. The calendar already exists with us in Bharat. So you can use the Bharata calendar as it's already space aligned, space ready. So we have
Amazing.
a space age calendar. Whatever you may come up with, you'll have to come back to this calendar only.
So not only Bharat is Vishwa Guru, but Bharat is Guru in terms of that which encompasses future and future possibilities, and have the provision for placing everyone. So it is not just a matter of coexistence of different type of human beings, but it is the coexistence of different planets. So that is phenomenal. When we listen to both Hariji's, it fires our imagination also, and that is rooted in the fact-based, research-based knowledge. So that is even more exciting. I think we should have more and more sessions with you to share the wealth of knowledge that you have by your tapasya uh, assimilated, accumulated, orderly placed to share and enlighten us. Thanking both of you profusely,
Thank
and wishing the best in terms of the passion with which you are sharing and spreading this fragrance. So, pranams to them, and thanks to all of you with lots of good wishes for joining us. This is Ashok Vyas. Namaste.